Oh, yes, kids. We have returned. Your favorite horror movie podcast, Loathsome Things, is back with another fantastic episode.
Fantastique.
My name is John, and as always, with me on this episode is my just delightful, yet incorrigible co-host, Josh. Josh, how are you doing, sir?
I am splendid.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a word.
It is now.
I promise. Look it up in the HarperCollins dictionary, kids.
I'm feeling splendid.
Yeah. Oh no, I splorned.
Screenshot!
What a great new element.
But we've added a new element that benefits you not.
Yes. There's video for us, not for you.
Because the whole reason we're doing this is we amuse each other so much.
Dear up to and maybe including 17 listeners.
We look like we either live under a bridge or we just raided the Capitol.
Oh my god, did you hear that they called Nancy Pelosi's office asking if their things had been turned into lost and found?
Yes. I believe I left a magazine of 9mm.
My 9 EpiPens that I need.
Unbelievable. The fucking balls on those people.
Oh my god.
I kind of love them.
Yeah, to be fair, that is a pretty good prank, because it might not have even been them. It could have been other people that would be like, you know what would be funny?
Did you find a bag of zip ties on your desk by any chance?
I'm looking for a baseball cap. It's red. It looks like it belongs on the top of someone that is a complete piece of shit.
Does that sound familiar?
If you have that, just look in the bin, scrounge around in there.
You also might find a Polaroid photograph of someone's beehole.
Yes.
That's mine.
John, what are we doing today?
Today we're covering one of the greatest horror films, if not one of the greatest films of all time. An absolute classic. George Romero's 1968 classic, The Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead.
It is a wonderful, wonderful film that probably everybody has already seen.
Yeah, especially because it is not just freely available everywhere. You can steal it for legally.
You can steal it for legally. They made no distribution deal. The people who owned the rights to the film made all the profit. It was a highly profitable film, considering particularly the original budget, which was essentially nothing.
Yeah, can you imagine the on the scale of oopsies on this thing? One of the most influential movies, just spawned an entire, what if they had accidentally forgotten to copyright Mickey Mouse, and then everyone was just able to use it and not have to deal with ridiculous copyright laws that are basically unethical.
Wouldn't that be horrible?
So yeah, today we will be bowing at the feet of the master George A. Romero from his first zombie film, where he hadn't yet decided that he didn't like to have the word living in there.
Yeah. No kidding. It was, this was I was thinking about it as I was rewatching it the first time, and it occurred to me that this is probably the first horror film that really made me realize, consciously, that I actually appreciated horror as a specific genre, as a thing that appealed to me. Obviously I'd seen horror movies that I liked and so on and so forth, but this was the first one where I thought, you know what, I'm a fan of horror movies. And I was in high school, and a buddy of mine and I think we rented it or something like that from Video Store. And I remember thinking at the time how transgressive it felt to watch this movie. It felt like I was stepping into something different beyond just like I was consciously choosing movies that were covering things that were beyond just movie entertainment. Like this movie had a message, and I knew that before I even saw it. It just you just kind of got that impression from the reverence that you read about it in articles and stuff like that. And man, it does not disappoint in that respect.
No, it is fantastic. I was going through it and I was thinking about like not just the fact that it did the zombie horde for the first time, what we know now as a hugely overdone trope, but like I was trying to pay attention to all of the little things that it started within the zombie genre,
Mhm.
and it just like it hit all of them. It like even the thing like, all right, you've got like two guys arguing about, well, okay, how do we survive the zombie apocalypse? Do we stay up here and maybe retreat to the cellar, or do we just stay in the cellar? All of the things like, oh well, I've got this tire iron to fight with, but later I'm gonna upgrade to a gun. It's got all kinds of stuff all throughout the movie. It's great. He just started the whole fucking thing. It's fantastic.
He started the whole thing, and the way that he defined those tropes is it was so decisively, which is crazy considering that so much of it seems like it was done by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
And but he nailed all those elements so well that that's why they show up. And it's not even so much like a fan service thing where people say, oh, I just love George Romero and he's the first. Those things are true, but he's also the first, and he completely defined the whole genre by the way he made like the apocalyptic scenario, the smugness of certain people, the humor in it. I mean, it's the way it works is like social satire and horror, of course. And I mean, it's just what a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, it's great. And most of the movies that we think of as being like hugely groundbreaking and trend setting will like introduce an old idea and innovate on like one or two elements, but he just like did everything, like the whole thing put together. It doesn't start out that way. Like it starts out very familiar. It
Mm-hmm.
starts out like an episode of The Twilight Zone
Yeah.
or The Outer Limits. And so I could see that like lulling an audience back then into a false sense of security, but maybe a slightly scarier one of those. And then it just breaks their shit apart and ruined people. I was reading like reviews from back in the day where they were like, do not let your children see this movie. It will destroy them for the rest of their lives. I talked to my mom about it. She saw this movie in theaters as a teenager and she said it scared the shit out of her.
I can imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the first time I saw it, it was campy. I mean, I recognized the camp factor, especially since it was, I was seeing it in late 80s or something like that, I guess. And it had already been out for quite a while, so it had aged somewhat, but still, I mean, it does not really pull punches. And
No.
considering that it's not taking after anything else, it's pretty bold.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about we watched Spider Baby,
Hmm.
and that came out in 1967. And for 1967, that thing with the ear was like horrifically gory.
Hmm.
And then this movie has them like pulling guts out of people and fighting over intestines, and you just like seeing someone chomp into a heart, and you like the camera's like staring down the whole of the ventricles. And
Yeah, and there's scenes that we'll get to where things are happening that are emotionally pretty rough to consider. I,
whew,
I mean, beyond just the terror of being in the situation, like the scenarios, there's the way that they work out. It's like Jesus, that's pretty heavy stuff.
yeah, it's not a happy movie. It
No,
feels like it might be a little at the beginning, but it does not go
it really doesn't. It gets real dark real fast.
Yeah. Oh man. So we decided to watch this movie. We were like, we haven't done a real zombie movie. we did Death Dream, done like zombie adjacent things, but we were like, we should, probably do a zombie movie. It's kind of an important subgenre. And we landed on this, and I don't know if we talked about it explicitly, but I was thinking, we're going to likely, if the podcast continues, be covering a lot of zombie movies over time. And what better way to like really, like have this as a basis for comparison? This is the zombie movie that all other zombie movies should be compared to, because it's either as good as this, worse than this almost always, maybe once or twice better. Maybe.
I mean, you can't take anything away from this movie. Is it a, Loctite, perfect film from start to finish? No, it has its issues. It can be very amateurish at times. But man, when it comes together hard, and it comes together a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it has its moments. It has some interesting tricks that, again, we'll get into that help propel the story along. And, in many ways, Romero is very effective at using a camera, using limited resources, using a pack of amateurs, essentially.
Large pack of amateurs.
He got a lot out of these people. I mean, a lot of these people were pulling double duty, like this is this guy's car, but he also did the sound design, and this guy really was the police chief, or this guy was, just whatever, how they scored the helicopter, and all these crazy stories.
Yeah, we had to pay this guy and craft single cigars and put him in his hat for him.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about for sure.
Absolutely. I don't know. What do we need to say about George A. Romero?
I mean, he is, of course, infamous for single-handedly inventing the modern zombie genre. He made a number of other films, some great, some not so great. Yes. But he was always, he was very active creatively, and he was always thinking of, new things. And when he felt that he'd gone as far as he could, he stopped. Arguably, you could say he beat it into the ground with maybe some of the later ones, but they have their moments. But, I think he recognized, okay, it's time to hang it up. I think I've said what I need to say.
Yeah.
But
zombies, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously a master, but he was also, apparently a pretty cool guy. I mean, people really liked him. He was certainly loved in the horror and film community. And, so that always helps, because some of these people are great at what they do, but they're also total knobs.
Yes.
But Romero's, working class guy from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh, I believe. And, which is great for me because my whole family's from Pittsburgh. So he's like mentioning stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's where my grandfather lives, and all this. It's like, or lived.
Yeah, I think I have relatives buried there.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, and he was one of those directors that, he's like the Stephen King with writing, where his work centers, like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. They all are in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
At least, in large part. And, that I always like that he kind of centers his stuff, because he creates this weird alternate reality where all this stuff could kind of function within that world, like King does with Maine.
Yeah. Yeah. And crap.
It's gonna be really hard to explain to my wife why I'm drunk at like 2 in the afternoon.
I love that you're drinking from a bottle with no label on it.
The label fell off one day while I was recording another show.
I guess you must keep it in the back of the toilet.
I don't know what happened. It's the weirdest. It just peeled right off. To be fair, I was shit hammered when it happened, so I don't really remember the details.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, people have a video of me peeling it off with my tongue, but I don't remember that.
It's funny all the things you read about Scotch and how, the people in Scotland prefer it with a dash of water and this and that and all this. And I'm drinking this bottle out of the bottle at the moment. And I've tried a number of different ways to drink it. And this so far seems to be the most satisfying.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really depends on the Scotch. It depends on the proof. A lot of times when you add a dash of water, it's because it's
Yeah.
like higher strength, and
Yeah.
that narrows it out. We're so fancy. Loathsome Things, where we talk about how to properly drink your Scotch.
If we had the budget, Scotch would be a big part of this show for me, but I just can't afford it. I fucking love Scotch, though. Scotch. Get in my belly. That's right. It took me how many episodes to hit Anchorman?
There it is.
And we're there.
Milk was a bad choice.
2 tickets to the gun show. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's good. Let's see. This movie stars Dwayne Jones as Ben. Other than this movie, which, let's be honest, this is the movie you know him from.
Yeah.
But if you are like a deep core horror fan, maybe you also know him from Bill Gunn and Lawrence Jordan's Ganja and Hess.
I still have not seen Ganja and Hess.
Well, it's one of those movies that you... No, but it's one of those movies that you really are able to be like, yes, Ganja and Hess, a classic, without ever having seen it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably the first major entree into the horror world for Black cinema. I think. I mean, I say that. I don't know. It probably doesn't predate movies like Blackula and. I could be wrong. I mean, Blackula is so silly. It sounds so ridiculous and derivative, but it's actually, from what I've read, a pretty cool movie. I haven't seen it, but that's the thing. I mean, that's a whole subgenre unto itself that, as much as I'd like to cover it, I am in no position to be authoritative on any of it.
No. There is a pretty cool film studies and English professor at University of Houston downtown that will show it on the overhead projector out on the balcony on Halloween.
Nice.
Yeah.
They've got some good professors over there. There's a guy I hear on a lot of the political podcasts that I listen to that pops up a lot. He's a historian that teaches at U of H, but he's like super radical leftist. He's the kind of guy that the right always tells you can't go to the university because you're going to become a communist. It's like, well, if you go in his class, you probably will. He's one of those guys.
Is he on Very Bad Wizards or something like that?
Actually, that might be the same guy.
Yeah. I've heard a little bit of him. I'm like, wait, what does he do? What?
I mean, he's very much an academic, so he has that kind of back in 1943, but he's actually pretty cool.
Roosevelt.
You're like, why is this guy boring, but also telling me about how the people need to rise up and overthrow the government at the same time?
If anyone can make rising up and overthrowing the government boring, it's professors.
You're like, all right, I'm cool. Can you just stop talking? I'll do it. Whatever. I'll throw a Molotov cocktail in the police window. Can you just shut the fuck up, please?
Yeah. Proletariat. Yeah.
Surplus labor, whatever.
Wow, what a confusingly political episode of we'll start with. Yeah, the January 6th guys, what hilarious pranksters. And then let's overthrow the government.
I blame it on the movie.
Yeah. This movie will make you want to overthrow a government. Maybe
with
the
zombies.
Zombies. I'm sorry, sir. They're ghouls.
Oh, right. Those things.
Yes. Let's see. This movie also stars Judith O'Dea as Barbara.
O'Dea. Jesus God.
Which you probably know from her role as Barbara in George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, you might also know her as Barbara's hair.
Yeah, Barbara, she of the 8 head.
Oh man! And whatever, like, I don't know what she had to do to get her hair to like do that thing and then go back down and do that other thing, but it is not working for her.
It is remarkably ugly.
Yeah. Which I love. I'm pretty sure that's what what's his nuts was going for in Mars Attacks whenever that one
Yeah.
alien is doing the stupid thing. It's like, oh yeah, Barbara from Night of the Living Dead. I get it.
The hair wave.
Yes. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. You've probably seen this movie. If you listen to this podcast, you've probably seen this movie and are just listening to us because you want to hear what we have to say about this movie. Well, I'm going to tell you, we're going to do that. So
Yeah.
Good job. You chose well.
Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah. So leave? No, just go ahead and keep listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If for some reason this one slipped through the cracks for you, you should definitely go see it for a number of different reasons. It's certainly easy to find. It has no copyright, so I mean, there's different versions. There's a Criterion version. There's so on and so forth, but you can find it for free anywhere.
I think they even didn't they colorize it at one point for no
good
reason.
They did colorize it. It's
what
true.
A fucking idiot move.
Yeah, I saw that version and was not impressed.
Yeah. I will say the freely like public domain one is pretty grainy and unpleasant looking. So if you find one of the remastered ones, you could do worse than watching the remastered.
And if you're a collector, in which case you probably already have it, but if you don't, get the Criterion version because it's gorgeous. It's been redone and it's disturbing how clear it looks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at that. I'm gonna have to find that and watch this movie again. This movie is super worth rewatching. Like I watched this twice to prep for this, and the second time I watched it, I was very happy to watch it again.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to chew on.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh,
good.
Oh my
god. John, why don't you start us off with the beginning of the recap of the movie of which we are discussing today?
I think I shall. And there's my cat. He's undead. So we have a long car ride of opening credits as the car is winding its way through the Pennsylvania countryside on its way to a cemetery that apparently they found buried in the woods somewhere so that they wouldn't be interrupted. And they stumbled across this place, and it was perfect because they were worried that, cops would show up and be like, what the fuck are you people doing? So anyways, they found this graveyard. So it's cool as they enter in the graveyard, there's like this shot, like half the screen is an American flag that somebody's posted in the graveyard just to kind of set the scene a little bit. Yeah. But so we've got Johnny and Barbara, and they're driving out to the country. They're going to place a cross with some flowers on it, decorate the grave of a person. I'm not really clear who the person is.
It's their dad that died when they were young.
Oh, okay. And they're doing it on behalf of their mother, who I guess is really in no condition to make this drive, because I think they said it was 780 hours away or something.
Yes.
They're in Pennsylvania. They're not that far from... And for some reason, I think of them living in New York. I don't know why. And I'm like, it's not that far.
No, I think they're like 3 hours away in Pennsylvania, which I would assume means they are on the complete opposite side of Pennsylvania.
The absolute southernmost part of Pennsylvania, and they took the back roads. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So they're talking, they're horrible people, and they go to get out of the car, and the radio suddenly comes on, and they were under the impression that the radio was broken, but as the broadcast comes back on, you hear the guy say, we apologize for the disruption for the signal, and so there's a little hint that something's not right.
Yeah, maybe something is amiss.
Yeah.
Also, before they get there, when they turn on the road that the cemetery's on, there's one of those square road signs that says cemetery, and it is shot up with every kind of gun. and that is just beautiful.
It is beautiful. If you've spent any time in rural Texas, or
Yeah.
apparently anywhere else in the country, you're familiar with bullet-ridden signs.
Yes. People driving around drunk with guns. Hey, look, there's a sign.
Rusty holes in all the signs.
Oh, every different kind of bullet used on that sign.
It's amazing. So there's like thunderclouds gathering. I guess you don't really see them, but they have like the ridiculous light flashes for lightning, and you hear thunder, and in the distance you see this man just kind of shambling about. He's like an older guy, and he looks pretty rough, but they're not really giving him too close a look. They just recognize him, and Barbara's already spooked because she's, as they discussed, she was scared of cemeteries even as a little girl. And so Johnny, of course, being a total knob, is giving her a hard time and blurts out the classic line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," which is great. And then, of course, they are coming to get her because the zombie attacks, and he jumps on her, and Johnny jumps on his back and pulls him off and rescues his sister, who really was not worth rescuing, as we'll get into.
No, not super great at stuff.
So the shining moment in Johnny's life turns out to be the final act of Johnny's life, because the zombie kills him.
Yeah.
And she kind of gets away, sort of. She gets into the car, and she doesn't have the keys. And so she's...
Johnny has the keys.
Yeah, she's helplessly... and then the zombie figures out that he can just pick up a huge rock and hit the window. It's one of those moments that's like iced in my brain, where he hits the window and it leaves those scratches, but it doesn't break. Then he finally gets in there, and she freaks the fuck out, realizes she can just pop the emergency brake out and put the car in neutral, and the car starts rolling off. She's supposed to be like driving it, but she's one of those driving things where she's not looking at all. And she just very slowly and casually drives into a tree.
Yeah. Not even into a tree, just kind of scrapes alongside the tree. And, oh well, car done.
Car done. And apparently that shot, they added that shot because at some point during the filming, the car, of course, belonged to somebody in the crew. At some point during filming, somebody hit the car. And for continuity's sake, even though I don't know that, I guess they did show the front of the car. For continuity's sake, they had to, Romero put that scene in so that they would explain why there was a ding in the car. But it kind of works.
Yeah, it totally works.
And so, so she freaks the fuck out and takes off and ends up at a nearby farmhouse that she sees, a creepy looking farmhouse off in the distance. And
I do want to mention, it's not just any zombie. If you're familiar at all with the work of Tom Kenny, you'll know that this guy looks exactly like Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
He does look like Tom Kenny. Holy crap, that's terrifying. I didn't even think about it. Also, that farmhouse apparently was slated to be just demolished, and they worked it out with the owner, and they were like, "Don't worry, we'll demolish it for you when we're done." Yeah. And so they actually like they cleaned up the whole house, and like apparently they cleaned the kitchen first so they could eat.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that's that house, but. So Barbara hides inside this house, and the zombies are starting to kind of gather outside, and she finds a corpse, like a really gruesome looking corpse.
Yeah.
With eyes that apparently were made out of ping pong balls.
Oh, and, really? I was thinking that the eyes looked really real. I wondered if they'd gotten like glass eyes for it, but no, ping pong balls.
I don't know. They must have put like petroleum jelly on them or paint, or I don't know. They jellied them up. So... Anyways, so she runs from the house and from to an almost certain doom, but then she's saved by a mysterious stranger named Ben. He's an African American gentleman who will feature prominently in the film.
What? Oh my god!
I know, it's already
scandalous.
What is going on here? So they go back to the house, and he's looking for food and stuff to things to help them. And she alternates between mute terror and demanding that he tell her what's happening, because at this point she's essentially useless.
Yeah.
She's just basically just a muttering, bumbling mess.
Yeah, when she goes into the house, the first thing she does is she grabs like a kitchen knife and is
Hmm.
like running around defending herself with it, like waiting for anything to attack. And then by the time he's in the house, she's just grabbing it by the blade like an asshole. She was doing okay, you know, not great, but okay up until anyone more competent than her showed up, and then it's time to just it's give up.
Yeah, this movie was one of the first to break, certain taboos, such as having a black lead actor, but was not ready yet to break the taboo of having women be idiots.
Yes.
Like just useless and, like very misogynistic in that respect.
Yeah, yeah. They're three women. Well, I guess four women. I don't know. Depends on how you define women. Maybe we don't need to get into that. And it's not good.
No,
It's
no,
not
they're
good.
not portrayed real well.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that the scene you were talking about with Zom Kenny and the rock, like he picks up a rock to smash the window. That's not normal standard now trope zombie behavior, but I mean this was him inventing it. I think he got rid of that later, and
The
but yeah,
intelligence.
yeah, the use of tools, and it shows up again later in the film for a specific moment where they bust out the headlights. So it feels like they just don't want to touch cars with their hands because maybe cars are icky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. At one point, you hear a zombie go, "No." I'm like, dude, what? Did you not get the plot here? Like,
Also, we see a zombie eat like a centipede off of a tree.
yeah,
It's like, no, dude, you need human flesh. Come on now.
she was just riffing.
I'll play with this toy.
I'm just gonna eat this bug.
um so at this point, outside we see the two zombies smash the headlights, and Barbara freaks out. Ben goes to destroy the zombies with his trusty tire iron, where he slowly figures out, well, no, he doesn't, does he? he
I don't think so
gets
yet.
he gets them in the head, and that's what makes them stop, but he hasn't put it together that it's just the head that works.
Yeah, he puts it through the skull of this zombie in the house, but the guy's eyes roll after he's supposedly dead, which I thought was kind of weird. But okay, that's fine. And but yeah, no, he doesn't really realize yet. I guess because they announce it later that on the news that
Yeah,
you got to go for the head.
yeah, and
One
then
of the many the tropes that are first
yeah,
used here.
fantastically. There's also the one that gets into the house that he gets through the head. He then drags the body away, and as he's dragging the body away, the dead zombie's arms stay straight at its sides, even though he's dragging it from the feet. I like that the actor. They told the actor, they're like, "Don't let your arms drag up like you were actually dead. Just keep them pinned down. That way they won't get caught on the door."
Yeah, won't get caught on the door. They might get a splinter as the floor's old in this house.
Yeah, exactly. Safety first, folks. He drags that body outside and sets it on fire, and this angers the other zombies because they don't like light, which, I get that. I get that, y'all. It should be dark inside and outside.
Yeah.
The light is bad.
Yeah, they're scared of fire. It's weird.
Yeah. What a bunch of assholes.
Dicks.
And he then tries to get Barbara to help him. He's like, they don't like the light. Go turn on all the lights. She then does not do this. She just kind of wanders around looking at stuff.
Yeah, plays with a fucking music box.
Yeah, a really fucking cool music box. Like, you have to
be
hand
fair
it to her. Yeah, that thing is neat.
It is. I probably would have dicked with it as well.
Yes, be
like, I gotta find a light. Source. Ooh.
Well, now I've got to take this apart and see how it works.
I'm sure he'll understand.
Yeah. Whenever she fails to turn on even a single light, he's like, all right. I need you to find some wood to help me board up all of the doors and windows. And then she brings him a few, little twiggy things.
So it's just a little bit of kindling from the fireplace.
Yeah, it's like the size of a broom handle. She's like, here you go. And then she doesn't even bring it to him. She just sets it on top of the fridge and then like leans and starts to drool a little.
I found this Twix.
And he starts, and he discovers that whoever lived there before had been hoarding, just hiding every possible hardwood plank imaginable. Just underneath every surface is a stack of good hardwood.
If he had just looked in the kitchen, he would have discovered the massive hidden cache of planks of wood.
The stockpile of batten.
It's like, oh wow, it's kind of like, oh my god, what? I've totally lost it. In Basket Case, when they're like out in the front of the house where there's all the wood, like the firewood on the patio.
Yes.
It's like, what are you guys preparing for here?
It's gonna be a long winter.
Yeah.
So Ben then uses all of these to board up the entire kitchen as a last resort room for them to run to. And at one point, she even tries to help. She like goes and she's gonna like hold up the board while he nails it, but then she instantly forgets what she was doing and turns around and just kind of leans against it in the way.
She's useless.
Oh my god, I love the set design, which, you know, not really a set design because this was just someone's old farmhouse, but
right.
man, is it ever, including the little like bin of mismatched nails. Like whenever he pulled that out, poured it halfway out and just started sewing through it, I was like, well, that's just real. That is, I've got one of those. And
yeah. And you don't know where you got any of them?
Yeah, why did I put all of these different nails in here?
It's like single-handedly inventing the look of every video game, like every survival horror video game to come.
Yes.
I'll put this board sideways, and then this board will go across.
Yes. It's so bad. And I like that even later Harry's going to be like, look at these boards. This is bullshit.
Not that you can't stop anything, you fucking idiot.
This is dumb. What is this one?
I'm a moron, and I know this.
I also like that while Barbara is like wandering around aimlessly looking for wood, there's a shot of her where her head is it's eclipsing the mounted deer head on the wall, and then you just see the deer's antlers sticking up behind her head, and so it's like a symbolism because she is prey. I thought that was magnifique.
Yeah, perfection.
Good job, Romero. I guess doing a magnifique chef's kiss is a little off color for an Italian director, but it's
yeah.
And then Ben starts a monologue about all of the horrors that he saw on the way to the farmhouse, and this is the first time that we get like a touching glimpse inside his heart. And while he's doing this, he carefully removes all of the glassware off of a table, like wraps it up nicely in this like lace piece of cloth, sets it aside, and then turns over the table and starts to gently unscrew one of the legs of the table to use as the whole thing as wood. And then by the time he's done with his monologue, he's just snapping off pieces of wood, like just, oh, fuck this.
It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Like, I don't care about this table. It's ruined anyway.
Fuck this whole house.
His monologue finally gets through to Barbara enough for her to, you know, like build some sympathy with the audience, and she starts describing all of the movie that we've seen up until this point, but in her own weird, dumb way. It's very weird. It's like it's placed here for anyone that hadn't made it back from the lobby. They've got popcorn and they're like, what happened? You should have been here. Oh, wait, no. Barbara's about to tell you everything that happened.
And then Kenny from SpongeBob broke the window.
And over the course of her retelling the events, she starts to freak out, and he's like, oh no, this was a mistake. I should not have gotten her talking. So he tries to calm her down to get her to basically shut up, and this does not work. And Barbara now decides that she wants to go outside to get Johnny because Johnny's out there. We have to go outside and get Johnny. Johnny,
Yeah.
you see, is out there. We have to go get Johnny. And he's like, no. And she slaps him. And then he punches her straight in the face.
He knocks her the fuck out.
Whoa, dude.
It's like, oh, okay. I guess we're going there.
Yeah, that was the first hint of yikes. The real interpersonal human yikes in this movie. Okay. And yeah.
Woo! He clocks her the fuck out.
Yeah, she is out. She's gone.
He lays her out on the couch, and then goes back to boarding up the house. And then we hear on the radio, he's got that ancient radio. It was like was it a Zenith or something?
It's a Zenith, yeah.
All these little switches and shit that probably don't do anything.
Yes.
And so we hear on the radio about that's how bad this epidemic of murder is, and how the victims are appear to be eaten by these creatures, and it's pretty detailed explanation. And this is kind of starts this middle section of the movie where a lot of holes are filled in through the radio and then later the television, and you get a lot of kind of background, which is really kind of clever because the action will come in and out and you can still kind of hear that stuff going on in the background, but you really kind of get an idea for what's going on, which is kind of a goofy idea, but it's okay.
It worked really well. I liked that they even mentioned that similar reports are coming from the Houston and Galveston areas, but it's not as bad. I was like, damn right, it's not as bad.
That's right. We got it under control. If we lived there. Oh, I'm dying. Oh my god.
Fantastic.
Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, Barbara returns to consciousness. Great. And Ben has found, he's showing her the gun and the bullets and the lovely slip-on slippers that he's found for her. That's his gesture of kindness after knocking her the fuck out.
We did see that the instant she began to flee a zombie, the first thing to go were the shoes.
Yeah, that's right. She lost her shoes pretty much right away. Yeah. So he gets her a new pair of shoes, which whatever. Right. And that's his way of showing her that he's sorry for punching her square in the face. It's just so weird. But anyways, and then he's obviously given up on the idea that she's going to help in any way, so he tries to convince her not to get in the way, essentially. And she hears on the radio that this is where we kind of hear about the murderers are eating their victims, and right at this time the door opens and she's in the room, and she's completely terrified. Like, these two guys barge in and scare the bejesus out of Barbara, and it calms down quickly. And the Ben is giving him a hard time because they had heard all of this. They were essentially down in the basement and heard all of this, but didn't bother intervening in any way or trying to help in any way.
John, how would you describe these two gentlemen?
Oh my God. Well, it's Tom and Harry. And Tom is a young, strapping lad. I don't know, with a really bad haircut.
I call him Strong Gilligan.
Yeah, he's kind of short. He's kind of broad. He's a doofus. I guess he's supposed to represent young people or something, young adults. And then Harry is your, Harry is your kind of studly, but also small. And then Harry is your typical middle-aged dad. He's balding and he's a twat. He thinks he knows everything. And they get into this big discussion about, Ben's giving him a hard time, why the fuck didn't you guys come up here? I know you must have heard us. And he catches them kind of in a lie and all this shit. So it's just this back and forth, which, kind of goes nowhere. But basically we discover that there's going to be two camps here. There's going to be Harry, who wants to protect his wife and his injured daughter in the basement. And then there's Ben, and Ben plus his lady on the couch who's useless, and Tom, who's kind of going to side with Ben, and then Tom's girlfriend Judy, who is also useless, but pretty. She's
Yeah.
pretty, yeah. And so, anyways, so they have this big argument about what would be the better idea. Should we, if we go in the basement, we just have the one door. We can board up that door. It's very easy. They're not going to be able to get in. And then Tom, who apparently is a genius, points out that if we board ourselves into that door, there's no other way out. We have one entrance, one exit, and if that's compromised, we're fucked.
Yep.
And Ben's whole thing is like, well, if we're up here, maybe we can get out through a different part of the house, or worst case scenario, we can go to the basement if it really looks like we're out of options. So they don't agree on anything, they essentially agree that they're going to split. But they just go back and forth. It's completely ridiculous. And then at some point, zombie hands break through the boards.
Yes.
I don't know how. I mean, it was such a masterful job of boarding up, but somehow they managed to get their hands through. And this is where Ben discovers that he shoots the zombie in the heart, doesn't do anything, and then he shoots it in the head, and that's the end of it for that zombie. So he doesn't really say anything, but I'm assuming it probably sticks, And then we see this great shot of the zombies closing in on the house. We see the naked zombie. That was pretty amusing. And then
from the butt.
Yeah, from the butt. Oh, and then they show the boobs, of course.
Yeah,
Got to show the boobs.
Get aside the boob profile too. It's good.
And then we see the old lady zombie that teaches us a very important lesson about zombies, that they will eat bugs off of trees.
They will eat it right off the tree.
Just pluck it. Just
farm to table.
Delish. Tree to zom. So,
and I wonder, do you think this was like a way of intensifying the scare? Like, because up to this point it was all dude zombies. There were no lady walking dead, and then here we've got all of a sudden they're not just ladies, but the ladies show up naked. Mm-hmm. The ladies show up eating bugs off of trees. Like, was that like a taboo that just got broken over the course of this movie? Like, well, yeah, we can do zombies, but they have to be guys.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, because maybe people were uncomfortable with the idea of women, having this sort of extreme power that nobody has any control over. I mean, that's like the ultimate form of agency. They just move forward and eat you until you put a bullet in their brain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a very common role for women in film in 1968.
Nay.
It's interesting. I mean, he flips a lot of that stuff around. So anyways, so Harry wants to take everything into the cellar because Harry's a complete fucking idiot and doesn't care about anybody. And there's this back and forth between him and Ben, which is pretty amazing. And Ben's obviously had enough of this guy. And this is where he whips out one of the great lines in the film where he tells Harry, it's tough enough for the kid that her old man is so stupid. That's such a great line.
He feels sorry for the kid.
I'm so sorry your injured child has you as a father.
I internally refer to Harry as a young Fred Mertz, or perhaps Tall Pants McShorttie. just to give you a visual.
Perfect.
At this point, Tom and Judy are going to stay upstairs while Harry, Helen, and their daughter lock themselves into the cellar. Helen is not happy with Harry's decisions, but it's 1968, and he is the husband after all. And there's this whole scene, and this is the first time that there's no scene with like Barbara or Ben. This is the first like dialogue we get of with only other people. Mm-hmm. And it's really different from the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie is like, up to this point at least, has been strangers existing in an apocalypse. We got a little bit with Johnny and Barbara, but like this is the first one after the disaster, and it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. we're seeing here the toll that the zombie outbreak is taking on established relationships. And I don't know, I thought it was worth remarking upon. And it's really great because Helen is not happy with Harry's bullshit.
She's not happy with Harry's bullshit, and you see where Romero is acutely aware of not just not just trumping up the standard gender roles, but kind of turning them around a little bit, because she is obviously has a little bit more agency than we maybe had given her credit for early on, as we see her kind of chastising her husband, and you realize who really wears the pants, and like who's got the brain in that, in that, which makes sense because he's just this big. He's not big, he's little, but this macho douchebag who, essentially has no penis.
Yeah.
This is the way I read him.
She has this great quote too. We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Like, nice one, Helen. You turned a phrase. Very nice. That was good.
Yeah, that was a good line.
And then their conversation quickly dissolves because they find out that upstairs Ben found the most valuable resource that could possibly exist in a zombie apocalypse: a television that works. So they go out there to watch TV. There's lots of nonsense with oh yeah, play with the rabbit ears. Oh, the volume's off. Do this. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what it's like to live in this house.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, of being the remote control.
Yes, trying to make the television work.
Oh man, putting aluminum foil on the rabbit ears.
Oh my god, fucking nightmare.
So they start watching TV, and then the little bit of information that we got from the radio is now supplemented with the same thing, but now there's fake TV news station things going on too, and it's just more of that, but now with visuals, so they don't just have to keep zooming in on the faces of these same few people. And they say that people are pretty sure that this whole thing is due to the Explorer satellite, which orbited Venus before NASA decided nah and destroyed it because they detected mysterious radiation. Ooh.
Yes, high levels of mysterious radiation.
Here we go. We got it. Oh, shit. Cold War. It's here.
Yeah, aliens
or nukes or who knows what.
Which, if you're George Romero, you grew up watching movies like The Original Thing and all all that crap. I mean, that the whole Red Scare, that's he's definitely calling back to that.
Oh yeah. So you've got a Red Scare plus like War of the Worlds, like it's great. It's a great synthesis of it, and instead of it being like a purposeful invasion, it's like oops, disease or whatever. Like fantastic.
Senseless.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't end with a bang, but with a whimper.
Yeah. It is great. Really good job, George Romero.
Fucking brilliant.
Then there's this weird scene where the three newsmen are following a general, a scientist, and a professor. And you know that that's what they are because of the way they are dressed.
It's so ridiculous.
They all have horrible hair and horrible. It's just all horrible. And I like that there's only three newsmen because this is from back in the day when there were only 3 TV stations.
Yeah. It's like, 3, that should be good enough.
Yeah.
Well, what about this?
And the scientist and the professor are like, yes, it was definitely because of the Explorer satellite. And the general's like, well, maybe it's a little bit too early. Okay. And so that happens. And then everyone starts getting nervous because they said that, there's like, weird shit with people that get hurt during all this. And so they are like, why is your little girl? What's going on with her? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's fine. She just got bit by one of those things. What could go wrong? And Ben's like, he's like, oh, who knows what kind of diseases those things have? Which,
Well, I think we know one disease they have.
Yes. There's a guy on the TV, a scientist on the TV that says the dead cannot be mourned, just taken into the street and burned.
Great.
Fantastic. Wow.
Superb.
Yeah. They've also told them that now instead of sheltering in place, which was the original advice, now what you should do is you should make your way to rescue stations instead of sheltering in place, which every zombie outbreak movie since, like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
just everyone.
The world is quickly filling with strange cannibalistic murdering creatures. The best thing to do now is to go out in public.
Yeah.
Try to make your way to these centers.
Yeah. Get in a car, get on the highway, go the same direction everyone else is going.
What could go wrong?
Yes.
God, it's like, yeah, it's perfectly sensible idea. I personally have no idea. I have no issues with this plan whatsoever.
No, but wait, the plan gets better because they are like, oh, well, we obviously need to get to one of those rescue stations. Look, the TV told us which one to go to and where it is. One of us at least knows the area. How far away is it? About maybe, give or take, I guess maybe 17 exact miles.
I would say around exactly 17 miles.
Yes. Would you like me to convert it into metric? So there's a gas tank at this farmhouse, but it is locked, and the truck that Ben stole or rescued, however you want to look at it,
yeah,
it doesn't matter, is running out of gas. So that's part of why he even came here to begin with. So they have a plan. Their plan is that they're all going to collaborate or work together. Someone is going to go upstairs and throw Molotov cocktails from the windows, and other people are going to run out into the danger while other people reliably barricade the door, but open it whenever the time is right, which, is a great plan.
Oh, I mean, it's locked tight. What I did at this point was I paused the movie and just to ponder the logic of this plan.
Yeah.
And I worked it out from as many different angles as I could, and I couldn't find any problems with this plan at all.
Did you get out the chalkboard with the X's and O's?
I did. I was intersecting the chalkboard, the 30-foot chalkboard that I'm somehow able to reach without a ladder.
Yeah.
And I put every mathematical formula known to man. And ultimately, the conclusion I reached, great plan.
Yeah. Omega. Fantastic. We got there.
Stupid. So it's great plan. Yeah. No, I was just going to say great plan.
It is a great plan.
Yeah.
Part of this is we get a gentle, youthy love scene between Tom and Judy. So it like is a counterbalance to the Helen and Harry hate each other, where they're all like lovey and like, oh, but I don't want you to get hurt. No, I don't want you to get hurt. No, you go out to the car first. No, you go out to the car first.
Let's kiss for no reason.
Yeah. And at this point, I realized that my name for her, so he's Strong Gilligan. She is Foquel Welch.
Foquel Welch.
It's hard to say.
As most things, as Loathsome Things, yes. God help us all. Yeah. Well, as for the plan, the plan does not go well. It's okay, but so they've got everything worked out, so they're going to execute this plan as closely as possible. So the first thing that happens is Judy Love panics and decides that she just can't be. She's going to have to go join Tom. She can't be kept in the house away from Tom. Yeah. So she bolts outside at the worst possible fucking moment because he's already in the truck.
Yeah, the very last minute.
The Molotov cocktails have already been thrown. Like, everything's in action. And then her dumbass runs outside. Tom, they're going to let me in the truck. So she goes along for the outdoor mission with Ben and Tom, which is, catastrophic on her part. So they get to the gas tank, or they get to the gas pump by the barn. And it's like this comedy of errors. Like, it's locked. The key they have a key, but it doesn't work. Tom's a fucking idiot, and he's like spilling gasoline everywhere. Oh, that's right, because Ben Ben shoots the lock off the gas pump with a rifle.
Yes, after setting the torch down by the truck next to where the gas tank is.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And then dipfuck Tom like starts pumping gas, and what does he do? He spills it everywhere. After Ben warns him, "Be careful, you're an idiot because I dropped this torch right by the truck."
Yes.
And then Tom spills gas everywhere, and then the whole fucking thing goes up.
Yeah, he doesn't just spill it on, he doesn't just spill it on the ground. He also spills it all over the side of the truck, and then they have to get away.
It's like he tried to do it.
It would have been hard to do worse if he did try.
But then if he tried to do it, it wouldn't have gone that way. Because apparently whatever Tom tries to do is a complete fucking failure. Because Tom is a loser.
And the whole time this is happening, Harry is just intensely, like constipatedly watching it all happen from inside between the slats, thinking, wow, these slats are stupid. I can barely see anything. And he's just like watching them and he's like, ooh.
But what I can see is real bad. It's like super face palming.
Oh no.
Oh my god, they're idiots.
And he had honestly done a very good job with those Molotov cocktails. He placed them all perfectly so that they did not catch the car on fire. He threw them all around the car.
It was a remarkable placement.
He probably should have been the one to go on the danger mission.
If you were able to keep records of apocalypses, he would go down in the annals of apocalypse history as a fine Molotov cocktail thrower. Yes. As it is, turns out he just went down as a douchebag.
Yes.
So the fucking truck catches on fire. and oh good, the truck's on fire. Judy's stuck in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get out. She can't get out because her sweater
stuck at the door.
Like, Jesus God,
what do
really?
I do?
So Tom's trying to rescue her, and it's a fucking nightmare. And of course, the truck explodes, and they both die. And then we see Ben react. He freaks the fuck out, and then you go back to a shot of the truck burning, and Tom, who was standing outside the truck, is now magically gone. Yeah. But the truck's on fire, so that's fine. That's not a problem. No continuity problems there. And then the zombies have almost made their way inside the house because Harry's abandoned his post at the door because he's like, fuck. I mean, again, probably fairly, because fuck these guys.
Yeah,
they are not making things better. So
it's like, I'm going to the cellar.
So Ben is back in the house. They get the door barricaded again, and they're as soon as they get it barricaded, Ben turns and beats the living shit out of Harry.
Oh my god, it's merciless.
He fist molests Harry.
Oh my, over and over again. It is not okay. Harry takes it like a champ. He goes down, but like eventually he just stands back up and he is fine.
For a man that has no defenses to multiple punches, he handles it pretty well. Yeah. And Ben is basically threatens to feed him to the zombies and gives him that line, I ought to drag you out there and feed you to those things.
Yes.
Nice. And then we're treated to a shot of the Horde taking turns trying to get their helping of barbecue from the Tom and Judy buffet. And then from there, a nice little variety of close-up shots of them feasting on a selection of human body parts.
Oh, it's so good.
It's really disgusting.
Yeah.
Guts and limbs and apparently ham with Bosco chocolate syrup all over it.
Oh, no.
They said they probably didn't need to use makeup because half the extras were really sick from eating all the ham with chocolate syrup.
Yeah, it seems like they could have probably just used barbecue sauce and been just as good.
Because they're all actually eating it. It's really disgusting. Yeah. Or at least some of them are. One guy bites into like a big chunk of what looks like liver. It's disgusting.
Oh yeah, he really committed to that shot. It's great. Man, there's like the two of them are fighting over slippery intestines. I think it's either real animal intestines or the spinal cord of like a cow or something. Like that's what it looks like, and it is real slippery and gross.
There's a documentary about this film that is super comprehensive, including interviews with a lot of the people that are still around, and they talk about all this stuff. And I forget the situation with the guts and stuff, but they were pretty impressed with how game a lot of these extras were, because they're like, we weren't paying them anything. I mean, it's not like they were making any. It's like $10 each or something. If anything. They were just locals that wanted to be in a movie, and they're like, okay, we're going to have you walk around and eat guts.
Yeah.
The people were like, cool, yeah, I'll do it. Shit, that sounds exciting.
The pay is minimal. I mean, let's go.
I mean, what could go wrong? So, it's so ridiculous. So, yeah, so we see this, we see that, and then, excuse me, Dwayne, I keep calling him Ben, but what is it? No, Dwayne is the actor, right?
Dwayne is the actor.
Dwayne is, okay, so Ben chats Marilyn up about some potential escape routes, and like they're just kind of talking back and forth. There's a little bit of like banter between everybody, and then the Coopers, this is Harry and Marilyn, they tell Ben that their little, this is where they tell him that the little girl was attacked by a zombie, or she was bitten on the arm. Yeah. And they come up with this great new plan that they're going to get Barbara's car, and she tells them, well, that's fantastic, but you're not going to be able to start it because Johnny has the keys. And wow, my cat is on fire.
Yeah, is that your fat cat?
Yeah, let me let him out of the room, and that will make life better. Jesus.
We could just cut this part out.
On the they're all awaiting this 3 a.m. update on the television news. They're going to come back with an update.
Oh my God. And she has that horrible reaction to the fact that it's 10 minutes away, where she has to go on this whole thing where like, oh good, it's only 10 minutes away because all of these reasons we should probably go because we only have 10 minutes. I hated that so much.
Barbara is one of the areas of the film that I kind of have like some problems. It's like I understand she's shocked. She's in a state of shock, and I can appreciate that. That's a normal reaction, for a person in this situation. She just saw her brother get eaten by some sort of strange old man, and now all this shit. I get it, but everybody else is having a rough time too. And like at some point, you think she might snap out of it and be like, okay, you know what? I'll just freak out later. Like, now is not the time. But no, that doesn't happen. She's completely obsessed with the fact that 3:00 is coming in 10 minutes or whatever. How about that 10 minutes? 10 minutes of broadcast will be on, and then we can watch the news in 10 minutes.
Yeah. And this begins the trope of there being three types of people in a zombie apocalypse. You have the competent, the incompetent, and the just horrifically incompetent.
The one who's so incompetent that they accelerate all the problems.
Oh.
The person who's much more dangerous than the zombies themselves. Yeah. So, and which would, of course, would be her.
Yes.
But, so the news finally comes on, and we hear that, it's the radiation. It's obviously the radiation. It's still spreading. It's still out of control. And now there's like roving bands of gunmen marauding for zombies, moving through the countryside, picking them out. And
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? I mean, that sounds fail-safe.
Yeah.
A bunch of armed citizens. I mean, that's how we want our freedom.
Yeah,
so
it's a well-formed militia.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Yeah, what a great line. Everyone says that now.
Yeah. They interview the police chief on the news, which, okay, and I have a problem with this. This whole section is shot during the day, but it's like 3:00 in the morning. So that would mean that they captured this footage earlier in the day when nobody really knew what the fuck was going on. But somehow they were able to gather and get hit squads for zombies.
I don't know. Is it maybe day for night? Is it like,
I mean, it's day. Those dudes are
very day.
It's so day.
Day.
I was like, okay, this could be canned footage if it was, I mean, it is the news. They are known for playing canned footage, but
gasp.
This is happening in real time, essentially. There's no editing going on here. So anyways, whatever. That's, Not important, I guess, but it is, but it isn't. So, so they're interviewing this guy, and he's talking about, like the zombies and the whole, or the things or whatever, in this whole situation. He has this great line that's always stuck with me, where he's like, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Yes. Yeah, in what is otherwise a very poorly acted scene, he
Yeah.
does this one where you can tell he's just tired of it, and it is very effective. It's
He
great.
must have ad-libbed it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
They're dead. They're all messed up.
And just at this moment, the power goes out, and that gives the signal to the zombies to begin trying to bash their way into the house. We get again zombies using tools. The torch Ben used earlier to blow people up is now an implement to just lightly bang against the side of the house. Great. Amid the chaos, Harry then fights Ben for the gun. He gets the gun for a little while, but then Ben gets the gun back and kills the shit out of Harry with it. Just shoots him right in the guts.
It's great because there's like that moment where he's wrestled him for the gun. He gets the gun back, and Harry's in a compromised position. I mean, he's on the floor, and Ben's a good distance away with the gun. Harry is done.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, okay, he's got the upper hand. And then he just fucking shoots him.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I am done with this guy.
That was great. Because he didn't really have to do that. It was fantastic.
Yes. And up to this point, we'd seen Harry struggle with that before. Like the whole thing with Ben coming back from the mission. There you see Harry go through this internal turmoil of, do I go hide or do I help him batten down the hatches? And then he does help. So he's struggling between the idea of being a good person and just self-preservation. And up until this point, oops.
Yeah, he's very human. He's very, very much like real people. Like he's, he knows what's probably the right thing to do as far as perception, but at the same time, he's like, but if I do these things, it puts my family and more at risk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everyone's at so much risk. What does it even fucking matter? Like, you could tell he's struggling with that kind of stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's great. The first one of these in a zombie movie.
Yeah.
And to that effect, after getting shot through the guts, he proceeds to slowly die down the stairs to go not to his wife, who is currently in the grasp of zombies and maybe getting killed, but instead to go down the stairs and reach out to try to touch his daughter one last time. He reaches out, and then just before he's able to lovingly brush her hair one last time, collapses to the floor, all dead balls.
So it's very, very human until the end.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Also, good job, Ben.
Yeah. Kudos to Ben for shooting that dickhead.
I don't think it was going to get better, that whole situation.
No, I think we got all we needed out of Harry.
Yes. At this point, Helen has been grabbed through the boards by zombies and is not having a good time. At which point, Barbara, of all fucking people, springs into action and saves.
1 hour and 25 minutes into this fucking movie, and Barbara wakes up.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I need to go rescue that lady that smoked cigarettes in front of me. Good.
Duh.
Way to go, Barbara. So she goes, she rescues Helen, and Helen then abandons Barbara to the zombies because she's got to go check on her daughter. She goes down into the basement and finds her daughter all be zombified, eating Harry's arm.
It's fantastic.
Oh my god, that's so good.
That's not edible at all.
Oh, God.
Edible Oedipals.
Whoa. You've got an edible complex.
I'm a moron.
Tex Rex.
Oh my god.
Whoa. And so she has ripped her dead father's arm off and is eating it.
Yeah.
And then her mother falls down out of shock. So the little girl, as a zombie would, grabs a brick trowel, like a masonry tool, and slowly menaces over her mother before then stabbing her repeatedly, just over and over again, bloodily into the guts with the trowel, as the mom screams in a manner that can now only be described as remix.
Oh, it really is Scream the remix.
Yes.
All the effects have now been employed.
Yes.
We've completely breached the wall of reality.
Yes, it is. It is like the Funhouse Miro of echo effects, and it is delightful.
Oh,
It had to show up in like people's nightmares for the remainder of the 1960s.
it is incredibly disturbing. And the fact that it transcends the boundaries of reality is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Because I mean, essentially, what we're seeing is an undead child murder her mother,
yeah,
and that's deep shit. Like,
yeah.
that's not something you see a lot. Maybe now, but because anything's game now. But man, 1968. Come on, that was
Yeah.
fantastic.
They had not broached that topic in film. In tragic plays, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, this is like the first great thing, like all of this stuff. And I was like, oh wait, no, this is just like any pre-modern story.
Yeah.
Any pre-Victorian, non-prudish, awesome tragedy was
Yeah.
exactly like this.
This is the entire history of literature right here. Just with a trowel. So much chocolate syrup.
Yeah, they just used to sing this to children to get them to go to sleep.
Baby troubles, mommy, baby. Also, by the way, this is the second occurrence of the word Bosco in our podcast.
Oh, good.
Beyond the Door 3 had that idiot on the train. Bosco eat cake. Oh my god, we are so stupid.
It's such a smart podcast, you guys.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing that could make us smarter is a British accent.
Hello, governor.
There it is. Top-notch smartism.
Look at the brain on that one.
Whoa. I've got an idea for a song, boys. We all live in a magenta dirigible.
Crank up the squeeze box, lads.
I don't know where I'm... Okay, these zombies start getting into the house, including the original Zom Kenny from the Barbara's brother death scene. And then we see Barbara's all like caught up in their arms, and we see none other than Giallo Glove Johnny himself, now
right.
in zombie face makeup, grab Barbara, and she's like saying to Johnny, and he doesn't just eat her.
No.
He pulls her outside for the gang to also get some of.
That is fantastic.
What an amazing idea for a shot.
He pulls her into this mob of zombies, and they just vanish.
Oh my god.
That's the rest is up to your imagination.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
That's beautiful stuff.
Oh my god. At this point, Ben retreats into the cellar, which is great because the whole time he'd been like, let's not go in the cellar. And now he's like, well, I guess I'm going into the cellar. And he it's full. He goes ahead, he kills the little girl, and then he has to kill Helen and Harry one by one. Just the entire Cooper family killed by Ben.
He throws the gun away in disgust.
Yeah, and it's empty because he used all the bullets.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
He's not an idiot.
No, this is a zombie movie. You don't just throw away a gun if you've got bullets in it. Come on. The next morning, apparently, the zombies have all wandered away, and the well-formed militia makes its way to the farmhouse clearing zombies as they go. There's a long scenes of them just doing like I want to say like musket era formations of shooting at fields of zombies.
They're all stuffing the pellets in the nozzle of their guns.
Yeah, the nozzle.
Check out my nozzle, gentlemen.
I can shoot 2 rounds a minute. There's we're hearing the sounds of birds chirping. Oh yeah, I want to talk about the sound design in this movie. It's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say this earlier, but like the whole time they're in the house, they didn't bother editing out the sounds of all of the floorboards creaking.
Yeah.
It's so good. Also, shadow. Like this is all in black and white. The use of shadow in this movie is just sublime. They're always like moving into and out of shadow. It looks great. This movie is great on so many levels.
Some of the camera angles, which I mean, was kind of a thing in the 60s to use kind of the wacky camera angles to get for kind of an effect. Kind of like the expressionist thing, you know, where they weird camera angles and weird sets and stuff. But he uses it for effect. He doesn't, it's not the whole movie. Yeah. So there's just moments where if he wants to kind of portray a sense of disorientation or, you know, some sort of chaos, which obviously this film is very chaotic at times, but he'll use a weird camera angle where maybe something is super prominent. Like you mentioned, the animal head that frames, you know, Barbara's head, you know, so that, you know, it said you can't help but notice that she's prey. I mean, those are the kinds of things that if you're a huge movie fan, you spot that stuff a mile away and you appreciate it. And if you're not, you see it and it doesn't even register, but on a subconscious level, it affects you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the idea of mise en scène, which is apparently what that's called, but most of the time I do not even notice it. It's just something that's going on. That one with the antlers, I was just like, oh yeah, mise en scène. I can use that in the podcast now.
I took a lot of mise en scène.
Mise en scène protege.
Look at the protege.
So at this point in the movie, Ben is like obviously brutal, but we still have sympathy for him. We still want him to survive. And he hears all this squad of gunmen approaching, and not being super trusting, he like watches out of the window. He's like, oh wow, a roving band of white guys with guns. Maybe I shouldn't just run out to greet them.
Yeah, I should be cautious because this might be dangerous.
Yeah, so he stealthily peeks out the window, and one eagle-eyed gunman with a shotgun catches him through the head at what can only be described as a long distance.
It's quite the scatter on that shotgun there.
Yeah, and catches him right through the head. He is now dead. They're like, all right, good job. Another one for the bonfire or whatever. And then the closing credits roll as the movie, as the music gets really dramatic, and it's just a montage of photographs of people carrying meat hooks above Ben's dead body.
Yeah, like stacking bodies into this big pile, and then you see the meat hooks, and you see the old man, and Ben's next to him, and they're real grainy shots. They're like snapshots, as if they were maybe like news shots or something. It reminded me of that grainy, real grittiness of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre that just adds to it. And so you see all this, and the credits they're not rolling. It's just like shot like line, you know, like so and so. So and then they get through all the credits, and then they just show the bonfire burning at the end.
Yeah,
fantastic,
fucking amazing.
It's so good.
What a lunatic! What the fuck is wrong with you, George Romero?
What? I mean, that guy knew exactly what was coming.
He was like, oh shit.
He's such a happy man, considering that he had his finger right on the fucking pulse.
Yeah. Wow. Holy shit. What a great movie.
It is phenomenal. I've seen it so many times. It never lets me down. I never get tired of it. I could watch it again right now and be perfectly happy watching it again.
Yeah, let's watch it right now.
I know. It's phenomenal.
I know we just described it basically shot for shot, but let's go watch that.
I'll see you later.
Yeah. I would like to see this like at a drive-in or a movie theater, but that's just partially because I would like to see anything at a movie theater right
now. Oh man, I've mentioned their podcast before. I think I have. The guys from Forever Midnight that do horror movies as well. It's three guys out in like Santa Clara, California, but they California being the world where movies are made, at least Hollywood movies.
California being sorry.
They're always talking about, like, not so much now during the pandemic, but they're always talking about film conventions and horror conventions and all special screenings and all kinds of, like anything that's cool related to horror film is happening in California all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And so they're like driving to LA to see the premiere of some movie, and like, the director will be there or whatever.
Oh, bastards.
Yeah. These guys do this stuff all the time. And one of the things that they did recently is I think it was like in September or October, they curated 3 nights at a movie theater in Santa Rosa, which is there. These are all kind of on the outskirts of San Francisco where these guys live. And each of the 3 hosts from the show got a night where they got to pick one of their favorite horror movies, and they showed the movie on the big screen, and they just had an event, and they had, like, one of the guys works for a brew pub, so they had like beer or whatever. And,
nice.
like, man, that just sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to be able to get a theater and just have like a special screening of this and have it like an event, like beer and stuff, and just have it, that'd be great.
Loathsome Things presents at the Alamo Draft House. Let's do that one day.
Yeah, we could do that. that. I know a guy that's friends with somebody who works at the Alamo Draft House, so we could actually maybe pull that off.
Wow, that sounds like a really legit story you just told.
I know a guy who knows a guy, and he's friends with this guy who's like the third cousin, twice removed, of this lady who apparently once read an article by a guy who works there. So yeah, I think we're in. Oh, it's just going to be.
I used to know a girl that was a ticket salesperson at Alamo Draft House. So, we've got this.
I saw a movie there once. We're in.
Yeah. I saw them drop food on the floor once and put it back on the plate. We've got it.
If there's one thing we've got, it's pull.
Yeah, okay. Just pulling in the pull.
Oh, pull.
Tune in next week for Pull Some Things.
Oh my God.
I love that this movie has like the lovers dying together and then the miserable parents killed by their daughter, and that Barbara ends up getting fed to the zombies by her brother, and that at the end the most competent member of the whole thing is just killed by other people.
The first time I saw this, I did not know that was what was going to happen, and I was a little shocked by that. I was surprised because he was such a great character. First of all, I was surprised to see a black guy playing the lead role, essentially. And I mean, I guess you could argue that there were different lead roles. Nobody was really a singular lead in the film, but he was certainly the most competent member of the cast, and he was obviously the focal point of the cast. And so for him to, basically hold out through the whole story, and his reward, as if you're a fan of horror films, you're familiar with the trope of the final girl who, often is the only person who survives in a group. Here is this character Ben playing that role, and he hides out in the basement. These gunmen are going around. They're clearing up. It actually seems like there might be some hope, and all it takes is this fucking guy to take one peek out the window, and it's over for him.
Yeah,
and that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Like everything, all that you just invested, all the emotions you just invested in all these people, everything, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's difficult.
every radical decision, like every ounce of humanity that you put into it, all of that trying to save people, the plan, finally like giving up on those things and just being a survivalist pure, and then just boom, over.
That futility, which is so much a part of reality, as,
Yes.
as any adult will let you know, that's what makes this film so frightening to me. Is
Yeah.
is that there's no reason why this couldn't be the way this would go down. I mean, yeah, Ben's a good guy. Yeah, Ben is thoughtful. He's intelligent. He puts he actually puts some effort into trying to figure out what would be the best thing for everyone involved. And at the end, it doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah.
He's just meat like everybody else. It doesn't even matter.
Oh,
He's a black
fucking
man. Oh, okay, that's great. It's the first, maybe one of the first times where a black man plays a role in a film, where it's probably almost certainly the first time in American history where a black man plays a role in a film, and being black has absolutely nothing to do with his role.
isn't even super addressed.
Doesn't even matter. And then he gets killed at the end, and it creates all these questions like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what was his role? What was, the subtext is just, it's the fact that Romero was able to pump all that stuff in there. I know some of it was just, kind of like, a side effect of the process of making the film and the way things went. And he wasn't the original guy that he, had in mind for the role, but this guy came in and auditioned, and he liked him so much he actually rewrote the role to fit around Dwayne. What was his name? Dwayne something. Dwayne Jones.
Dwayne
And
Jones.
Dwayne Jones was some sort of an academic who had never really been in films prior, and apparently never saw another Romero film or horror film like related to zombies after this. This was
Yeah.
like, wasn't his thing,
Yeah.
So, but it's just amazing that he just tore this wall down with zero effort. There was no fanfare. It wasn't politically loaded, even though the whole film is politically loaded. But that his character isn't.
No.
It's not. It's not relevant.
Yeah, I will say though, like in a movie where there's a explorer satellite that goes around Venus, and there's radiation, and the dead turn into walking flesh eaters, perhaps the least realistic part of this movie was the fact that at no point did Harry say anything racist.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's almost like they don't know that he's black or something, because it's 1968. I mean, 1960, someone's got to say something obnoxious or insensitive or just flat out racist. I mean, it's not relevant. It has nothing to do with it. He's just another human that stacks the odds a little bit higher in their favor, and that's all he is in that scenario. And that is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like at the end of the world, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and he's played off a little bit as a hero, but ultimately at the end, it doesn't even fucking matter that he's a hero.
No, and in the end, none of them are heroes, except maybe Barbara?
Maybe? That's the ultimate movie message, is that, just existing and doing the right thing isn't fucking heroic. It's just what you should do.
Yeah.
You're trying to preserve your species and move forward. You're not, you don't have to be a goddamn hero to do those things. You just do them. It's black, white, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's 1968. Jesus.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
It's so great.
George A. Romero just doing it.
Just doing it. I had seen some post that somebody had put on Instagram, and it was like a compilation of like different horror directors: Carpenter, him, Craven, and another heavyweight. I can't remember who it was, James Wan or someone like that. And they were like, "Who would you go with?" And I'm
like
just
on a date.
Just like, who would you pick as like your favorite, essentially?
Oh yeah.
And why I would have to go with Carpenter, because I fucking love John Carpenter, but
he's pretty good.
But he's but as far as like, I don't know, there's something about George Romero that's so special. It's like so American. It's man, what a great movie.
And I found out because of this. I was looking up different stuff. Like I was looking up Fulci's Zombie 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, so if that's Zombie 2, what was Zombie? And so I like there wasn't like clear cut links to it like through
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia. So I had to do digging and actually like read shit. And it's Zombie the one was Dario Argento's cut and adaptation of Dawn of the Dead for Italy.
Oh, that's right. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I remember reading about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he recut Dawn of the Dead for an Italian audience, redid the soundtrack with the band Goblin, and had
Oh,
them do it, and that's what Zombie is.
I've never seen that. I don't think it's readily available.
I don't think so, but I really want to see Dario Argento's Zombie
I do
vision.
too.
Yeah,
Wow, that's fascinating.
yeah, I want that, please.
Because Fulci Zombie is fun, but I mean, it's a piece of shit. It's a
It is-
lot of fun, but I
it
mean,
is
come
so
on.
much fun.
It's great. It's great, but terrible.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
it's fine. I'll just get naked in front of you to go diving, and I will see a shark fight a zombie. It's great.
It's fucking. Oh, I love Lucio Fulci. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll cover him at some point. But yeah, what a movie, man.
Yeah.
Whew.
We'll have to watch both of those.
That would be great.
Oh, see, that's what we should do at Alamo Drafthouse. We should do a triple feature
Oh,
of Dawn of the Dead, and then Argento's Dawn of the Dead / Zombie 1, and then Fulci's Zombie 2.
oh my God. Okay, so the guy, I can't remember exactly who the person was. I think it was the person that co-wrote the script with him when they because they kind of co-created this idea of Night of the Living Dead, and the other guy went on to make Return of the Living Dead, and they broke off from each other because this guy wanted to focus on the humor. Obviously,
What an ass.
if you've seen Return of the Living Dead, and Romero was more into the kind of the social aspects of it, and the first Return of the Living Dead is fucking great. I had remembered seeing it, and as I got more and more into horror, I saw a lot of people talk about how much of a classic it was, and I was like, it's not a fucking classic. Night of the Living Dead's a classic. And then I went and rewatched it, and I'm like, that movie's a fucking classic. It's great. It's a lot of fun. It's no Night of the Living Dead, but it's a great movie, and it started a pretty fun franchise.
Are you talking about Dan O'Bannon?
Was it Dan O'Bannon?
Is the director for Return of the Living Dead.
Was he? Oh my God, that's Dan O'Bannon is the guy that did the special effects for Alien, and who would have done was going to do the effects for Jodorowsky's Dune.
Oh, fuck yes.
Dan O'Bannon's a heavyweight.
I know who you're talking about. Maybe are you... I've heard all of this, and now we just sound like idiots.
Let's see. I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
And that's okay because, it's nobody's listening, and we're not authoritarian.
It's true. Yeah, you're not here for the history. You're here for our brilliant opinions.
I almost did a Scotch spit take.
Let's see. Maybe if I look at Night of the Living Dead, it will tell me the information. Great radio. This is good stuff.
This is good stuff. Don't continue what you're doing, folks.
Oh, it's John Russo.
Oh, John Russo. Okay, and he's the guy that went on to do the Return of the Living Dead stuff, right? Or
he was the writer.
Okay, that's what it was.
He was the writer on Night of the Living Dead and the writer on Return of the Living Dead.
His take on it was that it should be funny.
Yeah, and it was great. And
Return
Linnea
is great.
Quigley, and
she's fantastic.
And then 3 was pretty great too.
3 is great too.
All of the glass and body modification stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I don't know. I mean, what else do you want to say about this movie? I could go on and on about it.
Let's see. I love the fact that even with like the dead rising from the grave to consume the living and their horrific disasters of apocalyptic proportions, it shows that you still, like, the thing is you still can't trust your fellow human being. Or is it perhaps especially then you can't trust your fellow human being? No, it's just you can't.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's it's not the first time that, this idea that the dead, I mean, that's obviously something that is part of our consciousness or our subconsciousness or whatever. This idea that our fear of death and this idea that the dead could come back is not that much of a reach from our fear of death. That would be even worse. So, this idea that they come back, and then not only do they come back, but for whatever reason they eat us, which
Yeah.
is pretty horrendous. Is Even though there were other movies that talked about zombies, but in that respect it would be zombies which were defined as people that died but then came back to life. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't necessarily cannibalistic, according to what I read. This was really the first time where they were portrayed as being cannibalistic.
Yep.
um, it's something that I've thought about a lot over the years because I never understood why, but at the same time it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about like the Black Plague, where like even the dead are a danger to the living, and
Yeah,
there's been so many fears of the dead rising. But yeah, I don't know. It's great. It's obviously an ingrained fear in humans because like we have all kinds of weird shit around death. Like for a while, it was very popular for when a king died to go ahead and just kill everyone around him and bury them with the king so that they will serve him in the afterlife.
right.
We have some weird stuff about death.
Yeah, the afterlife, which was something that nobody could quantify, was very much a reality in those cultures, and
Yeah.
it's crazy when you think about that. I mean, it's something that supposedly carries through now, but it's more of a like a token thing now. I don't think anybody really honestly believes it. I think they just say they do. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure they do, of
I'm
course,
sure.
but I'm sure they do. But it's just different.
Yeah.
You don't bury somebody with their whole group of people that worked for them or whatever, so they could serve them in the afterlife anymore.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, what would happen if when Jeff Bezos dies? Like, well, we
Oh,
got to kill every Amazon warehouse worker.
how do you delineate that? Is it all the workers? Is it every fucking driver, every douchebag that's yeah, it's a tough call.
So many job openings.
Oh,
Be great for the economy.
it would be good for the economy. That's true.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And I also wanted to say that I think it's really cool. There are these things in here that are like zombie lore that got left behind, like the fact that in this it's anyone that died during the event that came back as a zombie, and then zombie lore turned away from that and went to like, oh, if you're bit by a zombie then you become a zombie,
Right.
and if you die of normal things then you don't become a zombie. And I love that The Walking Dead brought it back. They brought that back, and they brought back not calling them zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are a lot of things that are wrong with The Walking Dead, but I really love that it's obvious that, the guy that wrote the graphic novels went back. He obviously loved this movie, and he went back and he was like, you know what, we're gonna play with this and get back to like these zombie roots, and just fantastic. Great stuff to bring back.
It's curious to me. Like I wonder. I mean, it's such an American film, and it's touching on all these things that are so much a part of being an American, like our views of death, our fear of death, our fear of the dead. We are literally scared of death, which is ridiculous when you think about it, but we just are. It's the way our culture works. But there are plenty of cultures in the world, large ones, like say the Hindus, who are not intrinsically afraid of it. I think maybe they are. Maybe it's a human thing that we're in touch with, that the Hindus have some reason to say they aren't. But I suspect that that's something we all fear because we don't really know the answer to it. So it's frightening to us. I mean, there's the body of this person that we meant so much to us, but everything that meant so much to us is pretty much gone, and all that's left is this physical object. That's difficult to understand. It's really hard to understand.
Yeah.
And so, the idea that body would reanimate and come back and not even have the slightest clue who I am.
Yeah.
And not only that, wants to eat me.
Wants to eat you. Like, oh, you look good to eat.
It's like, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not just the shroud of death that we're afraid of in this movie, but it's also like what's dying is the person, and then it is being then um it's not that the person dies, it's that the person aspect dies.
Right.
It's not that the human dies, it's that the person dies and then is reduced to basic consuming carnivorous instincts. And it's fantastic. It's especially like, lots of stuff like this existed before, but then this is huge scale because part of it is like this is the 60s and we're getting the population boom is starting to become something we're afraid of. We've got the Red Scare.
Yeah.
We've got like the fact that nuclear bombs happened, and we've also got the first part of like global warming and the fear that eventually the human population will grow beyond our capacity to feed it, and all of this stuff. It's a fantastic reflection of all of these different sources of fear, and it just nails it. It really sticks the landing on so many things. I
Yeah.
love this movie.
Yeah. And then he goes on to make essentially two more films that tackle different aspects of a similar idea. And both of them are brilliant in their own right. I mean,
Yeah.
they, with Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. And I mean, it's really difficult to like take away from those films as well. And the funny thing is those films are very much their own films.
Mhm.
So it's like three very specific statements that are part of a body of work that each work on their own, but also work together, even though they're not necessarily sequels of one another, which is cool. But it's just kind of an idea that this is the. I mean, it just kind of makes you think that this is this idea that this guy had thought about for a really long fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really important concept to this guy, and for three, I mean, you can't really argue that at least for 3 films, this guy was on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe not some of the later ones. Maybe not.
Yeah.
What is it? Survival of the Dead.
Diary of the Dead.
Yeah. Maybe
They're
maybe
okay.
not there, but at the onset, just gold.
I mean,
Yeah.
Day of the Dead is right up there.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's one of my favorite films, and there he's really digging into the social satire. They're stuck in a fucking mall, for Christ's sake.
Mhm.
Like that alone tells you, and then I mean, and yes, you can fuck up, like, socially speaking, you can fuck up a horror film set in a mall, like, say, Chopping Mall. Just saying. Even though I love that movie, I'd love to cover it.
Yes. That's the one with the robots that kill the
Yes.
teenagers, right?
Yes.
Yes. Great.
Yes. It's so good. It's so good. But not quite as poignant as Socially Speaking.
Yeah. Maybe not with as much of a good thesis.
And one of the beautiful things about this movie is that the apocalyptic narratives are nothing new in American culture. Certainly not now. We've seen all kinds of TV shows and books and movies that have plundered that idea. But man, the way that he does it is just it as campy as it can be at times. It's like it really hits home in certain ways. That there's this group of survivors that are holed up in a fucking mall fighting off this army of zombies to what effect? Just to survive. It really doesn't serve any purpose. They just want to survive.
Yeah.
They're not going to make the world any better or do anything. If they don't survive, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Everything's already fucked up anyway. That's fantastic.
It's great. It's
I
great.
love George Romero.
Yeah. Please don't make any more zombie movies, though, George.
Yeah, please
Oh
don't.
wait,
I know you're
is
dead,
he
but
dead? Oh
he's
shit.
dead.
Well, zombie George Romero. Oh my god.
Oh shit.
Yeah, George of the Living Romero.
Well, Josh, thinking back on this movie, if you had to, you know, if under duress you had to compile a rating based on a 1 to 5 with essentially with essentially any fraction of 1 between 2 and 2 between, I think you know where I'm going with
Some
this.
kind of increments.
Incremental rating system
Yeah, with or
employed,
without
yeah, yeah,
employed.
within the numbers 1 and 5, including any variation therein.
Uh, perhaps some number of loathsome things.
A number of loathsome things that you might attribute to this film.
I did not give it a 5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Loathsome things.
Mm-hmm.
I knocked it down one peg for some occasionally really, really bad acting that's in here. Like, especially from Strong Gilligan, who just could not deliver a line. Like, and part of it is the editing, because there are scenes where he's just like standing there stiffly, and then he delivers the line, and then he's still just standing there, and that's the shot. Ooh, so part of it is the occasional bad acting and the rough editing, which even at times is charming. Like I love it.
Right.
I wouldn't ask him to change it, because it
Right.
is part of the charm and it's part of the movie that I love so much.
Sure.
But it is not perfect.
Right.
And so for that, and also because I wanted to leave room at the top. I wanted to leave room at the top for another zombie movie to be able to be considered better than it, and I wanted to leave room at the top for another zombie movie to be considered better than it without all, and also without being perfect. So
Right.
for those reasons, I gave it a 4.8 out of 5. So another zombie movie could be a 4.9, not perfect, and still be better than it. So it's a 4.8 out of 5 Loathsome Things from a Josh.
That makes me curious, of course, to find out what movies you would consider better but not perfect, and then maybe better but perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaving that room.
You're leaving it open. Okay,
I'm leaving it open, leaving that door open for the world to come in. I don't know. I'm sorry I said that. What about you, John? If you had to rate this on a scale of 0 through 5 Loathsome Things, how would you?
This movie, obviously, is like, you know, kind of important to me because it was, as I had mentioned earlier in the episode, it was the first horror film where I really actually put some effort into realizing that horror was something that I liked and I wanted to dedicate time to, as opposed to just stumbling across a horror film and saying, "Oh, this is cool. I like this." It didn't scare me as much as maybe, say, when I was really young and I saw Salem's Lot, the Tobe Hooper series,
Yes.
which ruined my life at the time. Night of the Living Dead did not do that for me, but at the same time, I was maybe 18 when I saw it, Night of the Living Dead, and you know, I was in a place in my life where I was already cheated enough to where it was like, yeah, whatever, fucking don't care, you know. And having said all that, though, I'm ancient, and I've seen this movie, I don't know how many times, maybe 10 times, I don't know, and maybe more, probably more. It has its moments where, you know, it's a little clunky. It's you know, I have my issues with it. I have my issues with every movie I see, but I think, you know, I do have some legitimate issues with this film. Having said all that, I still give it a 5.
5 out of 5. I
I
can
give it a 5.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I give it a 5 out of 5 just because of the place that it holds for me personally. And that's kind of the idea of our ratings, I think.
No.
As you listen to this show, you recognize that we give our ratings based entirely on, well, not entirely. We have a number of different criteria. How it hits us. We consider its role in, you know, cinema history, if it matters. If it doesn't matter, then we might rely more on how it impacts us.
More on what?
More on what? Oh shit. Some of the movies we review, most people probably don't know much about, especially if they're not into horror films. But we might rate it relatively high because it created something or filled a specific hole in film that needed to be filled. So whatever. But this one's a 5 for me for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, that totally scans, and I probably should have made it a 5, but I was like, no,
No,
I wanna leave that little air in there.
no, I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting because it leaves room for what ultimately is God knows how many movies to try and reach that 10 for you.
Yeah, I want it. I want it. Give it
I
to
know.
me. The perfect zombie movie.
And there's some that are pretty damn close, probably, I'm guessing.
There are some really good ones out there. Zombie movies, like this wasn't the movie that got me to realize that I loved horror movies, but
Hmm.
zombie movies were one of my gateway drugs to the genre.
Yeah.
Like I loved sci-fi, I loved B movies, and I loved zombie movies. And from that, eventually I realized, wait a minute, do I love horror movies?
Hmm.
So then coming across this one, it's like, oh, it's pretty good. I wanted to just real random, super random, and maybe I already said this in an episode, but you mentioned Toby Hooper,
Hmm.
and we've talked about him before, and I was like, man, I just didn't remember that guy was a director too. That's crazy that he was also a director. And the reason that I thought that is because when I hear the name Toby Hooper, the face that pops up in my head is Dennis Hopper. I was like,
Who was a
really?
director?
Yeah, I was like, really? Dennis Hopper directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre? That is ridiculous. What a great man.
He directed himself in
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Part 2?
So, yeah, I just needed to confess that.
Toby Hooper is fantastic. He made Poltergeist,
Oh,
which
yeah.
arguably, Spielberg had a lot of influence on that. But he made a bunch of stuff. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is
Mwah.
it's untouchable.
Yeah, we'll have to touch it at some point.
We will touch and we'll put our fingers all over it.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely not from that state, so it's not an important one for us.
No, we don't live in Texas in any
Nope.
way whatsoever.
Not deep in the heart of that state.
I've never actually been to Texas. I wonder what it's like there.
Sounds like a horrible place.
It sounds terrible. Do people ride horses there?
Yeah, I believe Texas Chainsaw Massacre is actually the biographical film about Greg Abbott's childhood.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That totally pans out.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah. Apparently, it's also, from what I read, it was the first time ever in history that a film used a motor vehicle in a motion picture about Texas in some way.
Yeah, and that motor vehicle was a chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. It was a vehicle that delivered death.
Yes. So that is a 9.8 out of 10.
It's pretty good.
Combatively from us of Loathsome Things. John, I wanted to ask you a little fun question.
Okay.
For us to answer, and then for our audience to also answer. Squee. John, if you could pick one director who hath not to this point directed a zombie movie, and you could get them to direct a zombie movie, who might that director be?
I had I've given this we spoke about him a little bit earlier. I think Alejandro Jodorowsky would make an interesting zombie film.
Fuck yes.
And I just can't even imagine where he would go with it, because that guy is he's one of a kind for sure. And the other person that I thought of was Werner Herzog.
Oh yeah.
Not now Werner Herzog, because he would probably put Nicolas Cage in it and it wouldn't be good.
Mm-hmm.
And fuck that. But even though I like Nicolas Cage, but Herzog doesn't seem to understand how to use him properly. But Herzog from the 70s, oh, come on. That would be perfect. I don't know. What do you think, sir?
Well, I was thinking, I was originally thinking because Houston's a neat place that I've never been to, that getting Wes Anderson,
Wes Anderson would be interesting. Speaking of Texas, a state that neither of us have ever been in,
much less Houston.
Houston is clearly a place I will never go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, yeah, Wes Anderson would do a cool one. But then I remembered that Jim Jarmusch made The Dead Don't Die, and I would think that a Wes Anderson zombie movie would be pretty that adjacent.
It would. It would be
And
twee.
it would be so twee. So twee as to maybe be tweed, and then you would have to get those little arm pads like a professor. It wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see Rose Glass make a zombie movie. Rose Glass, who directed Saint Maud, just because I could imagine the final 1/2 of a second of that film being extra spectacular.
What is it about? What is it about? What is missing in the zombie genre that you would like to see? If anybody made a zombie film that really hit the notes that you were looking for, what would they be putting in their movie that hasn't been covered already? And obviously that's taking into account that so many things have been covered already, but what would be brought, what new thing would be brought to it that would make it better?
The ejaculation.
Yeah.
It's really
jizz.
Yeah,
jizz.
Arcing ropes.
Arcing ropes of jism.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah. Who's that director and photographer famous for his jizz work?
Nacho Kukaluki?
No, the guy that directed the Wrecking Ball music video.
Oh, Terry
Pratchett.
Noted sci-fi author and really disgusting molesting photographer.
Yeah.
Terry something. He's a horrible human being.
Yeah, he should direct a zombie movie with it's just the only way you get infected with zombieism is jizz.
Jazombies.
Whoa, that's probably already a movie.
I mean, Zombievers is already a movie.
It's already a thing.
That we won't be covering.
What about you, John? What do you feel is an element of zombie cinema that you're missing out on? It's just like there's a little je ne sais zombie that is missing.
It's funny because zombies are not something that I find particularly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, there's too many logical disconnects for me. Like, okay, so the dead comes back, but they're also incredibly stupid. So, yeah. Okay, so whatever. What is it missing? I don't know. There's, a lot of the things that I might list as being missing have been covered, like 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later. I mean, or what's the one? Oh God, there's this British TV series that covers a zombie outbreak that is fucking first rate. And
it's like Black Summer or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I forget what it's called, but anyways, yeah. Like I'm trying to think of like what would I like if I was going to make a zombie movie? What would I put in it? There's a novel by a science fiction author or a speculative fiction author named Lucius Shepard, and the book is called Green Eyes. And Green Eyes is about a woman who is she's a scientist, and she's part of this program where they've essentially brought this guy back from the dead, and they've used like voodoo symbolism, like voodoo iconography and all this stuff. And she ultimately ends up falling in love with this guy. And it's a great book. And it was the inspiration for the Sonic Youth book song Green Eyes. And I would love to see that be in a movie. Oh my God. It's a good thing I kept that together.
Yeah.
Green Eyes.
Cool. Green
Eyes by Lucius Shepard. It's a fantastic book.
It looks really cool.
It won the Ace. It was part of like sci-fi books back in the 80s and 90s, I guess it was. They were the Ace imprint, and then there was the Ace so and so awards. Every year they would give the book, give a certain book from that imprint an award as the best book, and Green Eyes won that award for whatever year it came out, and it's a fucking great book.
That's fantastic. That sounds great. I might have to give it a read-a-roo.
It would be a great zombie movie, and it covers some interesting. It's like it actually has romance without being maudlin or like cheesy or it's just its own little world that he creates, and it works. I would like to see that. I don't know who the director would be that would be good at doing that, but it would be maybe somebody like, this is going to sound weird because he's made some shit recently, but
oh God,
what's the guy that made the latest Halloween movie? David Gordon Green.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you see the early David Gordon Green films when he was still making the independent films, like the character-based dramas and stuff like that, some of those movies are fantastic. And if you had told yourself as you watch those films that one day he was going to be making what was that that movie with James Russo and no, is it James Russo? No, what the fuck's
Great
that
stuff.
What's that dick's name? They got
Rene Russo.
Rene Russo, that's it.
Yes.
No, the actor that got involved, like, got in trouble for like sexually mistreating women, and he was friends with that guy from Georgia who's in he co-wrote the Halloween movies. It's not important.
It's good.
David Gordon Green would be an interesting take.
Well, you will be happy to know that once he is finished with 2022's Halloween Ends, he's going to be directing The Exorcist.
A remake?
I would imagine so. It's just called The Exorcist. It's in pre-production. It is slated for 2023. And then it has been announced that he will be directing the Hellraiser TV series.
Oh, that's a problem. Yeah.
Because what Hellraiser.
And that's after the remake of the first film, which is supposed to come out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trouble. I like David Gordon Green. I don't know why Hollywood hit with that guy, because he made a couple of independent films that were very, very independent filmy, like very character driven and not, none of the Hollywood production values. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he made that fucking movie that I cannot remember.
Pineapple Express.
He made Pineapple Express, and then he made that, which was good. I mean, I enjoyed Pineapple Express.
Great movie.
But it's a totally different kind of movie.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, I think he might be able to handle a zombie movie. That would be interesting. If he did an original idea.
No. He would do the remake of Night of the Living Dead.
If I was the producer, which I'm not because nobody gives me money to do things, because, that would be a bad idea.
It would be bad.
But if they did, I would approach David Gordon Green and say, look, I love the aesthetic of your independent films. I like the character-driven dramas. You should take that concept and apply it somehow, incorporate it into a zombie movie so that it's heavy on the like actual people involved, and the zombie part it's part of the story, but it's not the part of the story. You didn't come to see the zombies. You came to actually see the people interrelate with each other, and how does that impact their lives and stuff like that. That would be interesting, because he's good at that kind of stuff.
I could see that.
But, I also thought that Blink-182 was going to be terrible the first time. Well, they were terrible, but the first time I saw them on MTV, they were on some, like, spring break thing. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing, Blink-182. And I saw it, I was like, yeah, these guys are going nowhere. And I was wrong.
A little bit wrong on that one.
I was wrong. So, I am not probably a good Hollywood producer.
That's okay.
I know it's hard to believe, because I'm just some douchebag who
drinks out of no-label Scotch
who
bottles.
lives anywhere but Texas, and drinks Scotch, no-label Scotch, out of the side of the bottle.
Just a blank green bottle of Scotch. It really helps that there's not very much scotch in the bottle, too. I'm so glad that we got a camera. Sorry, listeners, we're not even recording the visual.
Are we not recording the visual?
No, not even a little bit.
That's for the best.
Yeah.
Did it ever occur to you that we have listeners? Like, people do listen, but
They
we
don't
have
matter.
2 fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're both people I know.
Yes. You have 2 fans, John. Let's be real. Oh man, John's great. And Josh is there too, I guess. All right, well.
Yeah. Well, one day, maybe you'll get up to the level of 2 fans.
2 fans. They call me Josh 2 fans. Fantastic. It's okay. It's really for us. We are our own fans.
Clearly, we're having a good time.
Yes. Give us money, folks.
Please give us money, and we will be more than happy to talk about your movie.
Yes. Oh man, yeah. Or your streaming service, or I guess your man hair trimming products and penis pills.
Penis pills, hair dye, man hair trimming products.
Yeah.
Mattresses. Yeah, exactly. Food delivery service.
Oh yeah. Or those meal plan packages where you still have to cook it yourself.
Yeah. Sun Penis, the meal package plan.
Sun Penis.
Would you like sun-dried tomatoes and penis? Or artichoke hearts and penis, maybe?
Yeah.
Hearts of palm and braised penis?
Yeah. Pay us money to advertise your not quite marijuana products.
But all kidding aside, have you had the hearts of palm and braised penis from Sunbasket?
Braised penis.
I believe there's a little smoked paprika. Yeah. That's what puts it over the top.
Penis tartare.
Oh my god.
Do suggest us a movie. Also,
please.
Also tell us who you would like to direct a zombie movie that has not already directed a zombie movie. Hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Loathsome Pod, or on Facebook at Loathsome Things. You can also email us at an email address that I forget. So just try a variety of email addresses that you think we might be able to be reached at. Eventually you'll get there. If not, you'll get a visitation from the spookiest of all email addresses, Mailer Demon. Also, watch the Jim Gaffigan has a stand-up where he comes up with a great idea for a horror movie, which is, what if a hitchhiker who is a secret killer gets picked up by a person that picks up hitchhikers to kill them, and they have to deal with one another. It's a great idea for a horror movie.
They're forced to have to interact.
Yeah, or they fall in love was his idea, and it's a musical.
I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, that was great stuff. I was like, oh, I would watch that movie. Maybe not the musical.
The musical, fuck the musical.
No, those songs are going to be bad.
I hate musicals.
John, is there anything you want to tell the nice people before we don't anymore?
Please get in contact. We love to get feedback from you guys. Good, bad, doesn't really matter. Please make recommendations. There's been a vast number of recommendations that we've received, and we've covered all of them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them might be coming up in the near future. I'm just saying.
Probably should push that one out.
I'm just saying. But please recommend films. We love being able to interact with you guys, and that's Josh, anything you want to add?
Yeah. We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
And go out there and watch zombie movies.
Oh yeah. So watch zombie movies and tell us why you like them or don't.
Yeah, watch zombie movies and then tell us why you don't like watching zombie movies.
I just watched all the zombie movies and I don't like them.
I didn't like it.
I got about a third of the way in and realized I don't like zombie movies, and then I watched the other 2/3. And I still don't like them.
Turns out.
Turns out, fuck zombie movies.
All right, y'all. Have a great time and come back here in 2 weeks where we talk about a different movie.
Might be a zombie movie. Probably not.
Almost certain.
Cheers.
Bye.